Good morning, dear colleagues and friends. I'm glad to welcome you on our meeting, Experience of Working with Forced Migrants, Armenia. My name is Nazary Boyarsky. I represent the Ukrainian NGO Democratic Initiatives Incubator, and today I will be the moderator of this meeting. Our meeting is organized by the NGO Democratic Initiatives Incubator Ukraine within the framework of the project, the response of citizenship education to the challenges of forced migration, which is implemented by the working group of the ENC Network Citizenship Education and Forced Migration, supported by the Federal Agency for Civil Education, using funds appropriated by the Federal Foreign Office, Germany. This event is held for interested people from the Eastern Partnership countries, and it's part of the series of online meetings dedicated to the experience of working with forced migrants from different countries. And next hour and maybe a little bit more we will spend together. It's why I would like to share some wishes for our joint work. So first of all, in case of technical problems, try to restarting the connection, change the internet source or the device you are using. Second, if you join us via Zoom, you can put your questions and comments to our chat, and I, like moderator, will pay my attention to them and ask Marina during the meeting or in the end of event. And also, if you watching us online via Facebook page of Democratic Initiatives Incubator, I also pay my attention there. So this is my second device. So feel free to write your comments there and ask what you would like to know from our speaker about our topic, definitely. Yes, so it's like super small introduction because I actually can't wait to introduce our speaker for today. It's really beautiful. It's Marina Tunyan. She is represent actually Armenia, was super logical for our topic and have a lot of experience working with forced migrants. And Marina, can you a little bit share with us how you start to work in this field, why you choose this topic, or how it's happened? Because some topics happens to us, for example, for me in my life.
Yeah. First of all, good morning, everyone. I think this day is going to be the nicest one as we are meeting together. I'm quite a positive person, although I'm working with forced migrants. But if I was not the type of the person I'm right now, maybe my job would be very difficult to do and very challenging. And the way I work, actually, I try to disseminate the whole positive energy also to my staff and to my team. Everything started maybe 10 years ago, but I was doing simply project management in different projects like tourism, education, etc. But once we got acquainted with a person who was working in UN system, and when he was attending to my trainings, I was also a trainer of non-formal training methods. He was one of the members and say, you are doing very nice things at KASA Foundation. Why not to start being an implementing partner of UNHCR in the field of refugees, integration, youth, education, whatever, and all inclusive. And everything started 10 years ago when I had no idea what I was going to be today. And every time, maybe the good thing that I have to share with everyone, every time when people ask me what will be your wish in this project for the next years, I will say, I clearly understand that I may not have a job, but still I'm ready to not to have a job, but let Armenia not to have any refugees and or in the world. I clearly understand that I may not have the job, but I'm ready to this if there is no refugee or displaced person in Armenia. But unfortunately, they still are, and we have to put all our efforts in doing everything possible here. So it was a very long trip, and I think it still will continue for the next years. But today I'm really very happy. And first of all, I would like to thank you, Nazari, for trusting me to conduct this webinar today. It's my pleasure to share my experience, yes, in the work with forced migrants and also present my country. This is really a great pleasure. Thank you very much for the hearties. I really appreciate everything. So you already know me. I'm Marine Tunyan, but you can call me for short Mara because people know me with a short my name. You know, I have been working at KASA Foundation, as Nazari has already shared the screen. Thank you very much for helping me to facilitate this presentation, dear Nazari. You can see on my left side KASA Foundation's logo. Actually, it has a name, Comitas Action Suisse Armenie, because we are Swiss Foundation, an NGO, but working in Armenia. And on the right side, you can see the logo of UNHCR, that is the partner and the donor for already 10 years, 9+ years I mentioned. I have to say why I mentioned UNHCR, because during all these years, we have been closely collaborating with each other. It's not only in terms of finance, but UNHCR did lots of other things, not only giving money, but also being our back whenever we wanted to try something new. They were all the time trying to give us this energy, trying to give us these possibilities, and they very much appreciated the innovative ways of doing certain things. That's why when I go on through my slides, you will see how many new ideas we have created every time when we had this or that kind of situation. I will say in this slide also that we had 10+ projects. Currently, I fixed 10+, but they are even more. I just wanted to take the biggest ones. And in case that you will be interested in this or that kind of project, please feel free to write down an email to me, or maybe I will leave my contacts and Nazara will also give my contacts. Feel free to ask for more information. I will be more than happy. About my third point, I will mention that it was not only the team that did certain projects. We did it together with the volunteers and mentors. And we did for maybe also I can use several terms, terminology in my speech, but I will try to open also it so that you will understand, because in different countries we use different terms. When I say beneficiary, we mean all the people that are forcibly migrated to this or that country. Sometimes I may use also displaced people, because I do not want to say refugee, asylum seeker, etc. I will try to speak generally about the topics. Okay, let's go on, Nazari, and see what our next slide is going to be. Okay, maybe I will speak. We missed the part of KASA Foundation, I think. Can we go back? This one. Okay, I will speak a bit about my foundation so that you can also understand why KASA Foundation did certain things here. This year we're celebrating our 25th anniversary, so it means 25 years we have been doing lots of things in construction field. We started with construction, but mainly to educational centers, schools, musical centers, those things that were destroyed during the earthquake in 1988 and in the northern part of Armenia. That's why the story of KASA Foundation is really very interesting. Actually, a corps that was situated in Switzerland came to Armenia and tried to give a performance to gather money to send to the city that was mostly damaged by the earthquake. And later, when they went back to Switzerland, they decided to create a fund, which they called KASA Foundation, that generated money and sent to Armenia to support all the peoples that were in need of education. That's why we mentioned construction as the core or maybe the root that we started from. But later on, gradually, we understood that people were mostly leaving Armenia, and all the villages or cities were being emptied. That's why we decided to do agriculture, but solidarity agriculture. It's something like to keep all the villagers in their villages, trying to create cooperatives or doing social entrepreneurship so that people will use their land without leaving the place, and later on try to generate money for their own needs. Later on, we also simultaneously with the construction and agriculture, we also distributed certain humanitarian aid, but later we understood that when giving humanitarian aid, people get used to receiving it. And we understood that it's better to teach them how to catch the fish rather than to give the fish to the people. And that's why we understood that education was the right thing that we were going to implement. As for the tourism, I have to mention that lots of donors that were generating money from Switzerland, they were trying to come here to Armenia to understand how those monies or the funds were being directed to this or that programs. So maybe I will stop here in the education part, because the last 10 years, it has been even 15 years, it has been the education that KASA Foundation has been doing to support all Armenians, mainly youngsters, who are pursuing the sustainable development of the country, who are democratically involved in the economic, social, and cultural life of Armenia. Okay, let's go on to the other slide and see why. No, this one I spoke. I will speak maybe about UNHCR. Let's go back. Why UNHCR? Because you have to understand why Armenia is doing this project with UNHCR. Actually, UNHCR is an umbrella for all the partners that are doing or supporting displaced people. And it's better for us, for implementing partners, to have this one coordination organization that can all the time try to keep track whether we are on the right way, to give us certain green lights, doing this one, that one, and give us information what's going on, not only in Armenia, but also internationally. So I will maybe say several digits. If you are more interested in learning about UNHCR, I put also the link. You can follow the link and try to explore more about UNHCR Armenia. But I will say that these are the digits that Armenia, at the end of 2021, hosted about 35,801 persons of concern, including those refugees, persons in refugee-like situation, asylum seekers, stateless persons as well. But you have to pay attention that in the case of asylum seekers, Iran, Iraq, Syria were the top countries of origin in 2021. Syria mostly because, as you may have noticed, Armenia had a great diaspora in Middle Eastern countries. That's why those people that were displaced from Syria, actually they were Armenian speakers. That's why we could not call them simply refugees or asylum seekers, but a special term was created for them, people in refugee-like situation. Because actually they came back to Armenia, which was the motherland for them for a long years that they have been living in Syria. It was a community which was really very huge. Now we are really sorry that in Aleppo, in Damascus, those Armenian communities become less and less active, because after the war in Syria, everybody had to flee from their country. But in addition to this, I have to say that the recent war in Nagorno-Karabakh, I will make the term the same way as people get used to know Nagorno-Karabakh, although we call it Artsakh in Armenia. During this conflict, we again had people, Armenian speakers coming to the part of Armenia, in fact, and we had around, I don't know, 26,725 people that were actually displaced in result of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Still, there were several minor displacement, internally displaced people also in the border side, because the conflict is not still resolved, and we still are ready for new displacement. I would not like to say this. It's very difficult also for me to live in Armenia and speak about certain things, but these are just thoughts that we have to be always ready for some new displacement, new flee. I don't know, but let's skip this part. Let's hope that everything will be fine in all countries all over the world. But let's go on with UNHCR action, why it is doing certain things in Armenia. Actually, UNHCR is not giving the status of refugee or receiving asylum procedures. It's Armenian government, actually, but UNHCR is only supporting them so that internationally established procedures are very well done, and no problem is coming from the protection point of view, integration point of view. So this is just the link below. If you are more interested about UNHCR Armenia, you are more than to click this link and try to understand who's doing what. We are also there, so try to find us as well. Let's go to another slide, dear Nazarim. I will say who we are working with. This was the maybe terminologies that I would like to speak about. People displaced from Syria, we call people in refugee-like situation. People displaced from Iraq, the same thing. Iran, and pay attention that we are neighboring with Iran, and that's why we have lots of people coming to Armenia as well. The reasons can be different. They can be religious reasons, political reasons, but KASA Foundation's actions is not just to try to find out why they came, but try to understand you are here and what we can do for you. That's why we do not go very deep into details. It's not our job, but it's the job for the other organizations. Maybe it could seem strange, but we have also people from Afghanistan, Yemen, and other sometimes African countries as well. If you ask me why they are coming to Armenia, because I think it's not a secret that Armenia is not the most attractive country in terms of financially free or the most developed ones, but actually some asylum seekers are using Armenia as a transit country to move to another European countries. And sometimes, let's call them smugglers. Sometimes they use the service of the smugglers to come to Armenia, and sometimes it does not, they do not succeed in going to Europe and actually remain in Armenia. And they have to simply live and integrate in Armenia the way the others are doing. Okay, we had people displaced from Ukraine. They were mostly trying to seek asylum and receiving certain also statuses of refugee, and NK displaced people, mostly ethnic Armenians. These are the maybe POCs. I call them also POCs, people of concern, beneficiaries or displaced people. About the team, I will see that we are not too many people in our team. Honestly speaking, the biggest team that I have been coordinating was consisted of 7 people, in fact, but we worked with lots of volunteers. Imagine each person, sub-project coordinator, had lots of other big team surrounding that was helping actually for the implementation of this or that project. So I will say that we were very rich in terms of collaborating with the host community in order to try to support the people who fled from their countries. So this solved actually issues, also trying to inform the host community about the displaced people. If we did it in a very closed community, okay, we are 7 people, let's try to implement this project, our society would have never learned about the nicest things that the refugee bring from their countries to Armenia. It's just not a bundle of belongings just put on your shoulder and coming to another country, but there are lots of ideas, maybe the cooking, the spices that they bring together, the way of thinking that they bring together. And it's through our volunteers and mentors that we give information to the society that these people are not only displaced people, that they bring very nice things and change your society and your country, even develop it somehow. And people try to respect and try to include them and integrate them on equal basis in Armenia. So I'm really very grateful to my team, because we never say that this is not possible. We always say it is possible, but we have to find out how to do it. So they are very free to do whatever they feel like in support to the refugees, but we still have to understand how to do it, and we then go on. Okay, my next slide is actually about the partners. We're not working alone. There is a huge team, not only KASA Foundation, but you can see here UNHCR members, Government Migration Service, Armenian Red Cross Society, Mission Armenia, Fund for Armenian Relief, World Vision, KASA Foundation. And this is only just the biggest part that I mentioned, but there are so many operational partners that are not included maybe in the list, but they are doing very small things. You know that how the projects are generated. There is a gap. People try to write down the project, but it is UNHCR that from time to time is inviting all of us here, trying to make sure whether everything is going on the right way or not. And if not UNHCR, maybe it will be difficult for us to understand who is doing what. And we could have lots of overlapping and duplicated projects, which is not very good. That's why we are very free and open to collaborate, to communicate with each other during the working group meetings, during the coordination meetings, and once a year, the retreats, which is very important. All together, we go out from Yerevan to the farthest part of Armenia, so that we're not working, we're simply communicating with each other. And sometimes the most important questions are solved during the coffee breaks or maybe the lunch times. So maybe my advice to you, if you would like to solve a really important issue, try to communicate and collaborate with each other. This is the best way to reach the point that you want if you are a good person, communicable, and you like networking. I maybe from time to time, I can give also some tips to those who have just started, maybe who are on their way and they have some challenges. I may say that it was not very easy for us. It was not everything was not packed so that it was given to me or my team, say, okay, now you have this very nice gift, try to implement the project. We had lots of difficulties, but now I can proudly walk and people trust me, and they understand whenever they need any question regarding youth integration or education, they can come up to us and we can solve it. Okay, let's go to my next slide so that we can manage to speak about everything. I will mention that from 2014 to 2020, we have been doing refugee integration through social cultural orientation and self-reliance opportunities project, which had 2 different parts, social cultural integration and self-reliance and empowerment. From my next slides, you can see this small part on the left side. Whenever you see it, you can clearly have the understanding of the map, how my presentation is being created. In this slide, you can see the hotline. I have to mention that in 2021, we started UNHCR Hotline. With Nazar, we decided that I will speak generally what we did. That's why I will speak from my oldest projects and the newest one that we are currently doing. So whenever I come to this hotline part, you will see the small icon and you will very clearly understand what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go one by one on each project to understand what was the main idea of creating, for example, Adopt a Family project. As the name itself says, adopt a family, it means we were trying to find volunteers who about 45 volunteers per year, by the way, and it was not only one volunteer, they could be a family volunteer. And then we found people who were displaced those years, mostly new arrivals. And we started it in 2014 when the Syrian war was at the top of its culmination. When Syrian Armenian families were arriving to Armenia, we had this registration from the airport, who were the newcomers, trying to identify them and matching them or maybe pairing them with the volunteers. Because at their first come, they did not know where to go, how to deal with certain things, how to also have the financial management, because sometimes they were spending their money so quickly, the support that was given from UNHCR with the partners, that they could not understand whether it is cheap to live in Armenia. Is it expensive to live in Armenia? And these were the volunteers trying to refer them. Now you have to do this. Now you have to go here. The cheapest way to eat and be fit is this part. If you need any legal assistance, where to go? This was the job of our volunteers that were actually doing, supporting the newcomers in 3 months period. After that, I will say that some families were so much friends with the volunteers that later when they went to Syria, and some of them actually went, they were inviting the volunteers to Syria saying, you are my friend and the relative of my family, please come and visit us whenever you feel like. I may say about Adopt a Family that it was a project that was first implemented in Canada. Why I speak about this? Because I want you to know that you can also adapt the project to the context of any country. Try to understand how you can adopt a family in your country's context for the displaced people in your countries, and try to very quickly support the newcomers. I can give you more details about Adopt a Family project, should there be anyone that is really interested in implementing this. Because why I say this, it was not something new that we created, but we took the prototype from another country's example and tried to adapt it in Armenia. I put here the photos of different activities, actually. The first one are our mentors that have been trained to work with displaced people. It was not only you are a volunteer, you want to do something, but you have to get ready of doing certain things. You have to know your do's and don'ts. You need to know how to be very psychologically prepared to work with displaced people when they can come and cry all the time. And you have to support them in integration, not the humanitarian way. You have to be very, prepared to work with the newcomers, especially. It's not that the person has stayed here for 1 year or 2 years, but when they first come, they have so many thoughts, traumatized, etc. And that's why we organized pre-training, midterm training, and post-training for the volunteers so that they are prepared to meet. About the next picture, I will say that here we understood that from time to time there was needed a psychological support to the family members, actually, because when there were children in the families, sometimes we created certain activities for children, but understood that the family should be, combined approach should be done for the families. It's not only to support children in the family, but also the parents should also be very get prepared, educated, and after the trauma, they had to know how to deal with the children, because during the interactions, we understood that children need something different, parents need something else. But that's why every time we tried to, it was a flexible project, we tried to understand the gap and very quickly tried to solve it. This much was about Adopt a Family. I would like to go to another project, which is called Join the Community. Actually, my next slide is about the Join the Community project. Now we will have a seat. Okay, again, the name of the project, it's not accidentally came. Join the Community means we have lots of different people speaking lots of different languages, but they still have to join the community which speaks Armenian. This was maybe the most challenging project we have ever had, but this is something which is very typical to us because we created it. We did not take it from any other country's examples, but we just came out with an idea, and the whole decided that when dealing with people who speak different languages, Spanish, Farsi, Arabic, Armenian, Russian, Ukrainian, lots of other languages, and we understood that there should be a kind of universal approach how to do it, and we understood that it should be the culture. We tried to do lots of cultural events, trying to ask also our beneficiaries or the POCs to present what they do and what we actually do in Armenia. You see here also the process of making lavash, Armenian bread, that some people simply residing in reception centers have never seen how it happens. And it was KASA Foundation together with us that invited them to go to those places where they can do doing by learning. Also, this method was very much used in KASA Foundation. And I think there is no language was spoken those days, but people very quickly understood what is going on. Of course, this project could not be possible without, again, our volunteers and mentors, because what was the challenge of this project? That to find volunteers who spoke the languages of the beneficiaries. And that's why we tried to collaborate with the universities of Armenia that were teaching foreign languages. And we tried to identify those motivated volunteers to be attached to the people who were in need to express what they wanted to say. But in addition to this, I may say that we still try to give chance them to learn Armenian language. Of course, this was something very necessary because the people could not live longer in a community that speaks Armenian, but they all the time use their own languages. That's why very simple words were spoken, and it was my first maybe surprise was when I saw a Black person speaking very nice Armenian. I was so surprised to see, because I have never heard anyone speaking Armenian so purely and in a nice way, but still being a foreigner. This is maybe about Join the Community project, but I will say that this project was very challenging because the people of different nationalities are living in a reception center, and sometimes these mixed cultures of sharing rooms, sharing one kitchen together creates lots of difficulties. And from time to time, we understood that we have to go to the reception center and try to create certain activities and events in the reception center and not taking them out, because the chiefs of reception center were asking actually to come into the place and try to make everything so that the ambience was very nice. The atmosphere there was very friendly, because it is really difficult to live in one place, having lots of memories of displacement, bringing them all in one place and trying to share and be happy. This is really difficult, I have to confess. But still, we did it, and I'm proud to say now that I have to share it with you as well. My next slide will be about another project, which is called Two for a Job. I think we create certain names of the project so that it is very easy for you also to understand what we do. We invited lots of HRs, recruiters to be mentors for this project and try to pair again with those people who are in search of job. There were different people speaking different languages, but most of them were Armenian speakers and Syrian Armenians those days. And again, the process was actually the same. We trained the volunteers and mentors. Then we paired them with those people who were looking for the job, and then gave them for about some 6 months to find a job. And this is very nice process. They were together learning what are the gaps in the job market, what are the maybe organizations to collaborate with, what are the minuses, pluses. Actually, the general aim was to find a job for the person, but not only to give the job packaged, but to give them chance to learn about the process, how everything is going to be. Because even for Armenian people, it is really difficult to find job here. If not speaking about those people who do not speak Armenian, and we have to do lots of different, use all the connections trying to find for them. So with this project, we wanted to give them the overview what's going on in Armenian job market, so that it's not only because you are displaced and that's why you do not have the chance to find a job, but it's because even in Armenia, for Armenian people, there are certain things that you have to deal with or cope with so that you can reach the aim at last, your new job. We collaborated here with state organizations as well. State Employment Agency had lots of projects for displaced people, and it gave us chance to collaborate with them to understand what we can do later on. The pictures are taken from different activities in this in the frame of this project, but I think that the approach is the same, as you can already understand, used for all kinds of our projects. Maybe we can go on trying to speak about maybe art therapeutic lessons. Let's see which slide comes next. No, Youth Coalition. Youth Coalition, as the word says itself, was comprised of people, displaced people, young people, who became a coalition and tried to solve lots of issues that were arising in their communities. And they were solving those issues not by themselves, but trying to make their voice heard in state agencies. And we were like the mediators. KASA Foundation, together with UNHCR, were trying to contact those state agencies saying, Youth Coalition wants to speak about this. And we were giving them chance actually to solve certain things. In the picture, which is on our left side above, It's about the graffiti, actually, and the place that they cleaned because they were living in a block of buildings where the surrounding had no trees, was really polluted, and the wall was so unattractive. They decided simply to reunite all the efforts, clean everything there with the music high up, volume up, and it was such a nice, atmosphere that you felt, oh, you're doing a really great thing. It's worth doing and giving this chance to the young people, this energy that they are ready to do. And when they see the result, they were even more motivated to do next step, another step, and try to solve lots of other issues in their communities, and not only in their communities, but also others as well. There were not so many, there were only 15 young people, the core group. But of course, there were others that were joining and leaving. So if you would like to speak more about Youth Coalition, I will go deep into the details, because what I speak actually is just a very small part of what we did, in fact. Okay, let's go on. Nazari, see what's our next slide. The intercultural and the teens camp. During all this job working with the families, we understood that sometimes when we work with the families, the children were left aside. And we were very innovative type of people working at KASA Foundation. We very quickly see the gap, take it, and try to propose new idea. And whenever we proposed the idea to any donor organizations, they were very quickly taking and solving. By the way, maybe the success of KASA Foundation was that we were acting very quickly. We were not waiting for a long time to write a very detailed planning. We were simply raising our voice, saying we need this and the people need this, and try to also give certain facts why people need this. And very quickly, everything was happening in such a positive way that we could not even imagine. With this project, we were taking people, young people mainly, during the summertime to the other parts or regions of Armenia for not only intercultural communication and learning, but creating the network, and also for sightseeing, because they have never been anywhere other than Yerevan. Because displaced people, this refugee field is urbanized here in Armenia. They all come to Yerevan. They don't go to other marzis or other cities. They prefer to stay in the capital city. That's why from time to time, we gave them opportunity to go to other marzis, other regions, and to see what's going on there. Maybe something nice can happen also when you live in Gyumri, the second biggest city of Armenia, or another very small city. Actually, yes, we did the camping every year during the summertime for the young people and teenagers as well. And it was a very responsible job for us when we were taking teenagers, because the staff working with them was again trained how to deal with these difficulties in the age of teenaging. Among the youngsters, it was much easier for us, but still, we did it, and I'm really proud to say this year. My next slide will be about, let's see, vocational education. Some people, when they were trying to find jobs, were complaining that they know how to cook. For example, Syrian cuisine was very much popular in Armenia and also in Eastern countries. And they were saying, we would like to try to mix and understand what we can do and what Armenian people like to eat. And that's why here we can proudly mention that there are so many Syrian restaurants opened in Yerevan in Armenia, that this helped those people to understand what they can do and how they can be employed themselves. So in vocational education, we tried to train people how to cook in cooking classes. They were short-term classes specifically designed and tailored for them. hairdressing classes, manicure, and sewing. Here in the photos, you can see several people trying to be trained. And sometimes when asked, okay, do you generate money when you learn how to cook or how to do manicure? Some people, maybe the testimony from the people was like this. If I do the hairdressing for my family members, I save money. So it means that I'm not spending money on giving my daughter to go to the hairdressing. So it's already not touching the pocket for certain services. But if I can do that, okay, let me do that and not to give money for that. Okay, this was maybe the cooking and also computer classes that some people needed also some computer knowledge, maybe the starting ones. And later we developed it into the programming because certain people liked to learn programming in order to find a job. So we tried to identify those who were in need of job but were lacking certain things. And we gave those certain lacking very minor things, and they had the overall picture how to find a job for themselves. Okay, let's go to another slide, but you remember all of them. So in case when you would like to ask me a question, say vocational education, and I will very quickly remember to answer you. About art therapy. Most traumatized children actually behaved very strangely at the beginning when we were working with them. That's why we tried to collaborate with the Sandcastle. The name of the organization was Sandcastle. And we tried to take and identify all the people, all the children that have had several post-traumatic syndrome and involve them in the work with the sand and also drawing. Which helped them a lot. Later on, the parents were coming up to us to say thank you because their children were involved in their classrooms. When before they had certain problems in integrating into their classrooms, including in their classrooms. After this very short time, I may say it took some 3 months. All our activities did not last longer because the flow was so much. We had to train this group, then quickly go to another group. So 3 months was enough for them to learn to play with the sand and also speak up about their troubles, about their worries. And actually, if we compared the pictures when they were drawing before the training and after visiting the Sandcastle, they were so picturesque, so colorful that we understood very quickly that the evaluation of our project was really greatly appreciated. Okay, let's go on, try to understand our next slide, which is about the hotline. Now you can see the icon of UNHCR hotline number. We started this project last year. When UNHCR came up to us to say that we have to act as a neutral organization because we have been the partner for so many years and we were working so diplomatically well that they were asking us to conduct the hotline to see whether the POCs, people of concern, have several concerns regarding the partners of UNHCR that are doing certain support. They can call to us and simply ask several questions. Why I did not receive this support? Why, where should I go in certain cases? So hotline was created by KASA Foundation with the software. It was not only the telephone, but from the software and CRM system. The number is free for everybody who is calling from Armenia. Unfortunately, these toll-free numbers are never free when you are calling outside the border of Armenia, and this is a universal fact for all the countries and not only Armenia. I will say that our operators who have been long working in different projects of KASA Foundation with the forced migrants now were retrained to understand, because they knew how to work with displaced people. Now they try to understand the issues through telephones. And we simply try to, develop the project also, although this is not the project that can be developed more and more, because once you set up the system and you find the algorithm how to work, it will go on very smoothly for several years. From time to time, you can add several things, but this project is really important for KASA Foundation to keep it, because none of the organizations other than KASA Foundation could be so neutral in trying to give good feedback both to partners and also to UNHCR. So we did trainings for the operators, trying to explain them the types of beneficiaries, how to individually approach every person, if there are conflicting customers, how to deal with them, how to actively listen, confirm the communication, clarify the requirements, what is allowed, what is not allowed. These are the trainings that give or maybe develop the person also whenever they are working anywhere, even if not in the hotline, in the frame of the hotline. When we go to my next slide, I will maybe continue about this hotline, saying that we were reporting every week about what we did, how many refugees connected us. And this is how we also learn about Ukrainian displaced people. For example, if I every end of the week try to write down, we had several Ukrainian callers and they are very urgent. This or that action should be done in terms of this, because complaint is like this, request is assistance project, referral was made like this way. UNHCR also has the general overview what's going on in Armenia, because it's through hotline that some information is we are giving to UNHCR, and it's through us that they can know how to deal with in certain cases. This was about the weekly reporting, but we do also monthly snapshots, trying to create how many people called from which marzes or regions of Armenia, whether they were all asylum seekers or refugees. They were speaking which language, Farsi, Ukrainian, Russian, etc., and giving some analytical overview why it happens. And if we compare with different months, we can see there is an increase of Ukrainians this month. Pay attention to this. Or we can also say that, the complaints about, let's say, migration service has raised. Something is wrong there. There is a gap. Try to understand which gap is there. So I just want to say that this hotline is not only answering the telephones, but it's also giving necessary information about the gaps existing in the support to the refugees or asylum seekers. If we go on, you can see in my next slides the types of the presentation of monthly snapshot, the analysis that is done by Power BI program. This gives the overview of the number of the calls, regional segregations, vulnerability, which is very important for UNHCR to later on create certain projects, because the subject of concern is humanitarian aid, for example. People mostly need humanitarian aid rather than, for example, education. But the next slide also speaks about the same thing, but about different other topics. If you go, Nazari, we can see also the other legal status, the case load, city. And at last, we come to the people, the list of assistance. Now go back, please. About the refugees in Armenia in general. When we speak, can you again go back to see whether I missed anything or not, dear Nazari? Yeah, you can see the flag of Ukraine. No, this is finished. The flag of Ukraine is to speak a bit more about maybe the support to Ukrainians. But when When taking the advice from my UNHCR colleagues, I understood that actually when we speak about in general displacement, we never differentiate whether the person came from Iran, from Afghanistan, from Ukraine, or from Russia. They are all equal for us. And it is a universal approach, one POC approach that we usually do together with UNHCR and its partners. Actually, we all, and UNHCR and partner organizations, support Ukrainian displaced people on equal level as the others. Officially, if I try to say, from February until now, we had 380 Ukrainians who have sought asylum in Armenia, of which only 100 were granted refugee status. Not all of them. Actually, this is our migration service and the government that decides who is granted the refugee status, who is not. In comparison with the summer period, the number of asylum seekers was decreased. Currently, we have only 2-3 applications that are received per week. Maybe you can have a question why people choose Armenia to come for asylum. Maybe I have try to list several things that my experience allows me to speak about that. Opportunity to live or to move to the third country. Actually, people use Armenia not to move to European countries, because you know that Ukraine is near to Europe more than Armenia, but people come to Armenia to use their chances to go to the USA or maybe Canada. Yeah, and it is not only for the Ukrainians, but also for Russian people that are against the war, and they are coming to Armenia as well, trying to go to other countries that are willing to receive them. I don't know how it happens, but still people use the first place is that they want to go to the third country. The second one that I try to list is about the mixed marriages. Because lots of Armenian boys, you know, they were going to other countries to work, and sometimes they were not married, they are marrying Ukrainian girls, and now when the war started, they are coming back to Armenia, and at least a husband or maybe the wife is Armenian, actually. That's why they are coming to their second, let's say, country. The other one is Armenian ethnicity. We had lots of Armenians living in Ukraine, and now they are coming back simply. Because of that, we have the issue of dual citizenship as well, because they have been Armenians and they were bearing Armenian passport, but they also got the Ukrainian passport, and that's why they have two passports here, actually, and citizenship. And sometimes it was a language spoken, because Armenia, in Armenia, we speak Russian, English, and it is very easy for them to very quickly being understood, or etc., etc. But if you would like to learn more about the support, you can visit our not our, but UNHCR's website, helpunhcr.org. The link, I put it here. In case you would like to learn more, you are more than welcome. Let's go to our another slide, dear Nazarin. List of assistance for refugees. When I try to say the list, you try to understand that this is for everybody, even for Ukrainians, for Iraqi. Assistance in providing accommodation. This is all our state agencies' job, together with the NGO partners doing. Financial support, legal aid, psychological support, social assistance, medical care, assistance in educational issues, assistance in pension issues. Let's go one by one. Next slides, we'll be speaking about a bit more about each kind of assistance. Accommodation. When people first come to Armenia, there is the migration service that has dormitories at its disposal, and you can be provided with a room in one of them if there is a free room, of course. If there are not available rooms, there are special NGOs that are financed by UNHCR or other donors. They can give you cash for certain 5 or 6 months. It depends on the vulnerability of the family as well. And you can use the cash for renting a house for some 6 months until you get used and integrated into the society to try to find a job. So migration service works from 9 to 6 o'clock and break is 1 to 2 from Monday to Friday. And anyone who is here, they can simply go to migration service. But firstly, I will advise the people to call to hotline and we can refer them when and how to go and to do certain things. Next, my slide is about maybe the medical care. This is also our government to provide medical care. And if you have some health problems, you can apply to the district polyclinic where you will receive free ambulatory medical assistance. And you will also be provided with free emergency assistance should there be any issue raised. But of course, our partners also have some medical component in their projects in case that the government does not or cannot help or there's too many queues waiting. These NGO partners doing medical support can very quickly try to solve the issue regarding the health. This is our Mission Armenia partner. Let's go on with the next slide. This is educational assistance that I will speak mostly about. Institutions of general educations, of course, will help any child with the issues related to the school attendance, free of charge, because Armenian schools are all free except for some private ones. As regards to higher education, you should apply to the preferred higher education institution to get education at the department of your choice, similarly to Armenian citizens. But if spoken about the language courses, I will say that during these times, it was Armenian Red Cross Society that was in charge of providing the following support: Armenian language classes and consultations, where to go for the educational issues. I think this never had any problems, never arose any problems, because Ukrainians, and not only, mostly Ukrainians, do not have difficulties because there are languages that are spoken and people understand one another. It's not Farsi and it's not Arabic that Armenian community has never heard, or it's very strange to them. So I think that whenever they go, educational assistance will be provided them very easily and quickly. My next slide is about social and psychological assistance. Here I would like to mention about the assistance that Armenian Red Cross Society gave to Ukrainian Forum NGO, Dopomoga AM. I put here the link so that you can understand and you can follow them in Facebook to see what they are doing in Armenia. Red Cross Society tried to equip them with the computers, with the office staff, so that the NGO could work and try to support Ukrainian peoples whenever they are arriving. So this is maybe under the umbrella of Red Cross and UNHCR. And from time to time, we give also them chance to participate in, for example, Harvest Festival that took place recently. And they brought their Ukrainian cookies, borscht, whatever, and try to show also what is Ukraine popular with in terms of cooking or maybe tasty food. As regards to the social support, I will say that our Mission Armenia partner gives social worker support to the families or to the individuals, has the case management support, and sometimes, not sometimes, but nearly every displaced person is given a cash assistance based on the vulnerability. I will not say that everyone who comes gets, but they have special committee who is deciding whether this person is mostly in need or not. And only after they can give the cash, and depending how much cash should be given. This is all about the social psychological assistance. And if we try to finalize our presentation, our next topic will be about maybe the employment. Here I have to say that, of course, again, our Red Cross Society has some consultations and career orientations for all Ukrainian peoples, and sometimes finding also a job for those people. It is, but still the government's issue, try to solve these problems. Well, when government does not work very well, and I think we all know that in any country, sometimes all the things that the government should do is not doing properly. And that's why the NGO sector is trying to be a support. So it is free of charge if our government or state employment agency tries to do consultation, information, professional orientation, free of charge assistance, but Red Cross Society also does their own job in the search, because people mostly rely on NGO sector, if telling the truth, rather than to the government. This was what I had planned for today. My next slide will thank you for all the participation, for your active listening. And I give here my personal details in case you will feel like to contact me. I will be more than happy to answer to your questions and whatever you feel like. I was a bit late with Nazari, or was I in time?
All good. Thank you so much, dear Mara, for your presentation. Okay. So now we have like maybe about 10 minutes for questions from our participants. So if you would like, you can write your question to our chat, or you can raise your hand and or switch on your microphone and ask. But meanwhile, our participants thinking who are ready to ask something. I would like to ask you first questions then. You told us about forced migrants from different countries which arrived to Armenia, and I would like to ask you how the Armenian society accepts them. Do they have any kind of negative stereotypes to the migrants, or if yes, do you feel that civil society should work somehow with society to make it more tolerant? Maybe you have this kind of programs.
Actually, yes. In all during all years, we had this kind of issues. When first Syrian Armenians came here, you know, Iraqi displaced people were thinking, oh, why you are supporting all Syrian Armenians and not us when we were displaced during the war? But when they came to Armenia, of course, the host community was not willing to share their, for example, job opportunities with those newcomers. They were saying, okay, we do not have jobs, but now you are providing and giving chance to the newcomers. Or the cultural differences, when we have people from other religions, Muslims or others, of course, we are Christians, and it is very difficult from the point of view of religion, try to understand and try to make also the society admit that different cultures and different religions are quite normal in one country. But of course, there is a job to be done with the society. And as I mentioned, we do it with our volunteers, because they are the society members, the host community, and they are multipliers. They go and try to give the information about the general situation, what we have. I think in every country the issue exists, but it's better, yes, to work dually, trying to understand this part and another part so that all of them were happy enough. If I could answer your question, but yes, I will say there is and there will always be this kind of issues. It's up to us to decide what to do.
And we talk about experience of other countries, and some of speakers also like agreed that media have a lot of influence, yes, to create this atmosphere and somehow formulate this opinion of society to forced migrants. So maybe you have any kind of programs for journalists about like tolerance?
Yeah, actually, we are trying to make very big events, actually. and promote it through media and through social nets as well, and try to give information to people who are very actively, for example, in Facebook or maybe in certain channels of Armenia. And it's up to, of course, dissemination of information, what we are actually doing. So yes, the media plays a great role here in Armenia, and we from time to time do it. And not so big, but it depends on whether it's the World Refugee Day, it's the day of UN, it's the day of Harvest Festival, etc. So that's all that we do. And I think it works somehow.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you so
I
much.
think we do not have so many people, but I'm still glad even for those who stayed at the end, by the end. Victoria, Denisa, Volodya, etc. But I think even though we are few, but still I know that and we do not need too many people to change the world. I think even for those who are still here, it's really great pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Mara, for this words. We actually have more people who now watching us online also. Yeah, I told you that it's like
I lost you. Okay.
yes, I learned today in Ukraine at least, and from some other countries, people via security reasons prefer to watch online because they're like scared of their governments. Also, we have some issues in Eastern European countries.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, it's time to finish our meeting. So I would like to ask you maybe for some like closing words, if you up.
Yes. I wish that wherever you are, dear followers, dear audience, wherever you are, I wish you to stay calm and always have this idea of positive thinking. It doesn't matter where you are, but it's very important for you to have the feeling of everything that has started has to finish one day. It will not last longer, but one day everything will be finished, and you have to have the vision, some steps forward to see the light, that in every tunnel there is the light. Try to follow the light and go the direction, and everything will be fine. Thank you very much for all of you. And let's keep the fingers crossed that everything is going to be fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Mara, and our participants also express their I don't know how to say, impression of your presentation, how good it is, how well done, prepared, informative, with data, with emotion, and very interesting. And they underline how good you tell about the situation in Armenia, challenges which Armenia have like a country, and also support which you provide to Ukraine. So thank you so much. I think this is like my short translation, also very connected with what I feel about our meeting and your presentation. Thank you so much one more time. I would like to remind for our participants that the online meeting experience of working with forced migrants. Armenia is organized by the NGO Democratic Initiatives Incubator from Ukraine within the framework of the project, the response of citizenship education to the challenges of forced migration, which is implemented by the working group of INC network, Citizenship Education and Forced Migration, supported by the Federal Agency for Civil Education using funds appropriated by the Federal Foreign Office, Germany. Thank you so much, dear participants who find possibilities to join us via Zoom platform, and for that ones who watching us via Facebook page. I also send my warm gratitude to people who will watch recording of this video. Thanks for our partners, and I hope to see you on our next online meeting. Have a good and safe weekend.
Have
have
a
a
nice
much